Welcome everyone. I'm here with Tyler Evans. He is a co-founder of BTC Inc., parent co of Bitcoin Magazine, and managing partner of the 2140 Bitcoin Ecosystem Fund. Before we jump into it, let me introduce myself and why we're here. I'm Albert, CEO of Bitcoin Startup Lab. Welcome to the Who's Who in a Founder's Journey into Bitcoin interview series, where we have invited 30 of the top innovators and contributors for Bitcoin of this year. Right. And the reason why we've done this is because we're coming together as a community to do this in celebration of the innovative and significant achievements on Bitcoin, so that we reinforce and grow the innovation culture of Bitcoin. Significant achievements on Bitcoin are things that were done either for the very first time ever or setting new records to push forward the innovation frontier of Bitcoin. This show is brought to you by the Bitcoin Startup Lab. We're a top pre-accelerator in the Bitcoin ecosystem. We help you turn your ideas into investment-worthy startups on Bitcoin. And a big shout out to our media partner, CryptoSlate, a crypto-agnostic media platform that brings the latest happenings on Bitcoin to the rest of the crypto world. And a big thank you, of course, to all the teams and guest speakers that have come together to make the show possible and accelerate the advent of the Bitcoin economy. And again, we're super thrilled and honored to have our special guest today here. Let me say again, is Tyler Evans. He's a co-founder of BTC Inc., parent company of Bitcoin Magazine. This media company became the longest running and largest media company on Bitcoin. We're here to take a look at that story and also take a dive at the end into Tyler's new role as the managing partner of the 2140 Bitcoin Ecosystem Fund. But before we get into all that great stuff, let's start from the top. Tyler, welcome. Thanks for coming. How are you doing?
Sounds good. I'm great, Albert. Thank you for having me on this morning. Always great to chat.
Yeah, super. Always great to have you. So today we're going to be going the first segment, right? We're going to go into your origin story. Every founder starts from zero, right? From being a founder, right? We're hoping that by Tyler sharing his story, it'll inspire more Bitcoin or more builders and innovators and founders to want to build on Bitcoin. So this is definitely a noble cause. Thanks for sharing that part of your story. And of course, after we go into your origin story, we're all very curious how you got into Bitcoin and how you created the longest running, right, and largest Bitcoin media on the planet now, right? And then how you got into doing this Bitcoin ecosystem fund. So let's start from the top. Like before you even became a founder, Tyler, like what were these precursors, or how did you know that did you have any side hustles, or what were you doing, like anything entrepreneur but like sort of unofficial, you know what I mean, before you became a founder? Can we start from one? Like what's the first one you remember? Yeah.
Getting a little ahead of myself here, but I got straight into Bitcoin and then founding BTC Media, now BTC Inc. right out of college. So I like to joke that I've never had a real job in my life. When Bitcoin took me straight out of college, but before that, I've got to give my parents, particularly my dad, a lot of credit for kind of instilling a lot of entrepreneurial passion in me from a young age. He was always a super entrepreneurial guy, and taught me how to program when I was young, when I was in junior high, and started making websites together with him, and turned that into a few different side hustles. Actually, in high school, I had a side hustle making basically buying electronic components from Radio Shack and assembling like soldering a little electronic piece that I would sell on eBay. Made a few $100 like selling custom electronics that me and one of my high school buddies designed. And then the usual painting houses, baling hay, mowing yards, figuring out different ways to make money all through high school. And then
so you did that all, like you did the electronics and you did the mowing yards, etc., like different, like all these things, or?
I did. I grew up in northern Idaho, in kind of a rural college town area. So most of the summers worked either on farms outside the town, bucking bales of hay onto tractors, or painting houses, landscaping. I had a good side hustle as a painter for a while that I still
Yeah.
am
Okay,
pretty
you still
darn
want
good at.
when you're
So
young.
yeah.
Let me ask you a
And
question. Uh, what percentage of your friends at that age were doing similar things? Like, did you have a
not
partner in crime, or was it like, was this like sort of like, you know, your
I
own
had
thing?
a couple partners in crime, really from my high school class. Guys that were kind of into the same tech and software stuff that I was, where we would be building things, designing this electronic infrared component that we sold on eBay, doing stuff like that, and who pushed me to learn and grow and get better at all of it. So I'm thankful for that crew, and then that kind of followed me to college, where what a big part of how I met my co-founder and how I got into Bitcoin was actually our side hustle beforehand, which was running a nonprofit microfinance fund at our college. So we started and ran essentially a micro lending program where we raised a little bit of grant money from the college, and a few private individuals who I still don't know why they would have trusted us with their money, but some of them took a chance on us, and we basically designed a program modeled after what Mohammed Yunus and Grameen had done internationally to extend loans to entrepreneurs in the kind of rural areas surrounding our college, which was a lot of hardworking individuals who were running a cash business out of their home, running a corner deli store, running a hair salon from their home, running a lawn care business, but just kind of salt of the earth solopreneurs, if you will, who really had no access to financial services, who ran it
Wow.
entirely cash-based businesses, who when they got paid a check would have to go down to the grocery store or Walmart and pay fees to turn that into cash to pay their bills, who had no credit cards, no real accounting or tax records, and no access to credit to grow or expand their business. Even though they had happy customers, they were doing good volumes, they had built purely with sweat equity a business and an income for themselves. And so our goal was to be able to give loans to people whose only alternative was really payday predatory lenders, to
Mm.
let them grow their business or buy a new piece of equipment or hire one additional person, in a kind of nonprofit funding model that we paired with some speakers and education and content about how to run your business and some entrepreneurship resources for them. So that
Wow.
was a really
Wow,
interesting
you did this
program.
at university. You said they're like, these are microloans. Like, what's the dollar amount? Just so we can sort of understand, like, what.
They were small, like $5,000-$10,000 type range. I think our initial grant funding to start the program was we had like 30 grand to make loans with initially. So that was very transformative for me, both kind of opening my eyes to the opportunities and the businesses these folks had been able to build for themselves, all like brick and mortar sweat equity businesses, but also to the just how underserved that community in my backyard in rural America was by today's financial system, and that was one of the seeds that I think really primed me for learning about Bitcoin and kind of seeing the vision from an early exposure to why how a peer-to-peer, no barrier, non-discriminatory, equal access global financial system could benefit so many people.
Yeah, no, I mean, I'd love to sort of click into that. So you do this microfinancing for solopreneurs, right, in rural areas, and then this you said that you alluded that to the how this got you into Bitcoin. How did it get you into Bitcoin? Can you share with us how like how that happened? What year was this, by the way?
So we started doing that nonprofit program in 2010 or 2011, and then that kind of subsequently led me into Bitcoin, really 2013 and 2014, while I was finishing up my degree, which was in chemical engineering, something I don't do much of these days.
Wow,
But
okay.
I will say, for Bitcoin, it was really a combination of kind of that experience with the microfinance program and seeing the needs of entrepreneurs, and also just how predatory the payday lending and check cashing and the financial services industry, how much it took advantage of the people that really needed the most help, who had to pay these exorbitant fees that someone that like I don't have to, where I have access to, as many, credit card offers coming in the mail every week, and online banking, and all the best that our system has to offer. But I didn't really get to appreciate that until I saw how that system exploited and took advantage of other people to subsidize itself, essentially. So that was kind of one seed. The other was, my technology background is something I've always been interested in. Like I mentioned, been programming from a young age, and always had a passion for kind of learning about technology and being on the cutting edge of innovation. And then the last piece was really I was doing some investing at the time, which is actually how I got to know my business partner, as well as through kind of a student-led investment group that we were both a part of, doing value investing in the stock market, essentially, trying to identify undervalued companies and opportunities, and analyze businesses. And so those were the different pieces, the different contexts, if you will, for learning about Bitcoin, which was through my business partner, David Bailey, is the one who first told me about Bitcoin when we were doing this other stuff together in college, and who would not shut up about learning about Bitcoin and thinking about the possibilities of this. So, he was the one who introduced me and who helped me buy my first Bitcoin while we were in college together. And that, friendship, working relationship at the nonprofit, and then kind of appreciation and passion for Bitcoin was what led us into starting BTC Inc. After college.
Wow. Okay. So thanks for sharing this. I hope this is going to be very inspirational to some people, because let me unpack this. Let me share with you something. My dad also we went to Radio Shack, and we bought the motherboards and transistors and resistors and capacitors, and he taught me how to solder too at a very young age. So that was interesting to find out. Yeah, this is I want to sort of understand a little bit more about, let's starting from the nonprofit and then back to all your side hustles. I mean, with the nonprofit, what compelled you? I mean, like, there's what was it like, because you had done so many side hustles before, like as you said, in junior high and high school, that you had empathy for these rural solopreneurs, or what was your motivation for that? What was the motivation for doing that out of, like, versus another project that you could have done with your free time at university, right? What was like the motivation there?
I think, that was a piece of it. But really, I would give the credit more to the other people working on that project. And I just found a great group of highly ambitious, really accomplished fellow students who were really excited about this opportunity. And as a young, fresh to college, starry-eyed kid trying to find a way to leave a little impact on the world, I latched onto it, and it's something that I could get excited about as well. So I'm very grateful for that kind of formative experience. And last time I checked, the nonprofit, the microfinance program is still going at my college a decade later,
Wow.
which is pretty cool.
A decade later. Wow. Okay. So it must have grown since then, but you guys planted the seeds for that. Yeah. Excellent. Excellent. So let's go back even more like what you mentioned about junior high, and then how you were building websites for your dad. How old were you then?
I must have been like, I don't know, 12, 13, 14. I'm right on the cusp of the generation where I remember growing up in the pre-internet days, and I remember when we first got AOL at our house, and the dial-up modem, and I would kick my parents off the phone trying to get on the internet, and first discovering computer games, and then the AOL interwebs, and
What was that sound it used to make when you logged on?
yeah,
Yeah. And it would beep a couple times, right? Static, and then
yeah.
beep. Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so I really I remember those days pre-internet, but then I pretty much have grown up entirely with the internet. Starting from AOL in middle school, but have been online since then, essentially.
Yeah, I mean, so this is really interesting to me, right? Like just diving into successful founders' origin stories, right? There's a lot of patterns, but then I mean, if we zoom out, right, if you look at like all the high school kids, it's a small percentage that will want to go like mow lawns or do side hustles or tinker around with electronics, right? It's definitely a small percentage, but there's a high correlation between us, right, and then entrepreneurship. Like, I'm just curious, when other kids were doing other stuff, right, you decided to use some of your spare time to make money, right, selling these electronic components on eBay or mowing lawns, right? What compelled you to do that? I mean, I know you were influenced by your father, but I could think of many friends whose fathers are entrepreneurs, but they're not entrepreneurs themselves. They don't, like, they understand it, but it's not their cup of tea, right? What was your mind, at that young age that compelled you to do that versus, some of the more like normal things that high school students would do?
That's a good question. I think I really got to give my dad most of the credit too, both in terms of really teaching and instilling from a young age kind of the value of hard work and independence, and the it was up to me to kind of make my way in the world and find ways to make money if I wanted to be able to buy stuff in high school. So that was a piece of it. The area I grew up is I would say, as a small farm town of like, people have to be kind of entrepreneurial by nature too, where it's a small community, without a lot around it, and in a harsh winter environment where people who live in northern Idaho there are very self-sufficient, and kind of a attitude of you've got to take care of the problem, and if you're in agriculture or farming, there's always stuff that breaks, fences that break, machinery that breaks down, and you just have to kind of roll up your sleeves and put in the work to fix it.
Yeah.
And you can't just call someone to come do it all for you. So a lot of very hardworking people, and think that rubbed off on me early in life, and it kind of showed me, that I could basically use some of my technical and engineering and inclination and my interest in that stuff to just figure out how to fix things myself and figure out how to do it, and just don't have to ask permission, just go do something, which is really the core of entrepreneurship.
Yeah, yeah, I'll say,
Seeing
yeah,
a problem and being willing to step in, roll up your sleeves, and try to find a solution to it. And
yeah,
that is applicable to all sorts of problems, not just business problems. But if you can translate that skill set into business, where you see a problem or a gap in the market, boom, that's how you become an entrepreneur.
yeah. No, that's a great point. It's just like that muscle memory, right? It's just when you see a problem and just jumping in, right, without having like to deliberate too long about it, rolling up your sleeves. It's like I think to a lot of people, entrepreneurship or being a founder is very mysterious, but it's actually very practical, right? It's like very pragmatic thing that you do is just just do it, right? And that's very interesting. That if I had to trace back why I was had side hustles when I was in junior high and high school is also because my parents created a situation where they gave me zero allowance. So they say, hey, if you want to buy stuff, then you have to figure out ways to make money.
Yeah, yeah.
And when you see your friends buying stuff and you don't have it, you're like, oh, it's a very very motivating.
That's a great forcing function. What were some of your side hustles, Albert?
Oh man, okay. So the first one was uh, um, uh, newspaper route, and so that was uh, wake up early in the morning, do newspapers on the weekends. We solicit, which is basically anyone who didn't have the paper subscription. You would try to convince them to. It's like sales, right? It's door-to-door sales, and then
Yeah.
that got a little. My parents didn't like me waking up so early in the morning during like school days, and so I got into baseball cards. Where I found out that because back then there was like the Beckett would only come out once a month, and I found the pattern was when baseball was in season and someone like you could look in the paper and then see who has the higher batting average, and then so you could buy those cards on the last month's price before they skyrocket, right? But then once the Beckett comes out and like it shows like the new prices, right? It's very easy to make like a few $1,000s a month.
Okay.
It's like at
Cool.
that
Cool.
that's more than what a university student makes, right? So
Yeah.
that and yeah, like also like going around the house with like a bucket and like soap and a sponge and just cleaning cars. I also did the lawn mowing thing. Yeah, so there's a lot. Even like buying like candy for at the groceries because like once I saw like my parents just the Girl Scout cookie came up, right? And it was like I don't know how many times it was more than a grocery market, but I was like, wow, it's like such a huge markup. And my mom just said, oh, that's like, just she's a kid, just give her some money and buy a couple boxes, like without thinking. And so I said, hey, I could do that. So I went to the market and I bought some chocolate bars at at the market price. And then marked it up 5 times because I went door to door. But so yeah, stuff like
Candy
that.
delivery. Yeah.
Delivery, basically delivery service of candy. But yeah, but enough about me. We could definitely go on about this offline. Let's go back to the so we're basically right after university, right? Where you and Dave start BTC Inc. Right? It was this 2014, if I remember correctly.
Hmm. And so we've been invested. We've been passionate about Bitcoin for a while now in college, and I had bought some, not a lot, but scraped together some change as a broke college kid, and had a great timing where I bought it before the big run up to $212 on Thanksgiving 2013, and we couldn't believe how how much money we were making at the
Well, hold on,
time
when did you buy
in
it? When
college.
did you buy it? How much was it?
It was around 60 bucks a coin.
And then it went to 200, over 200.
Yeah, that's
Wow.
in a period of like a couple months after I
Yeah, no,
bought
that's
it. So
insane.
I just timed the market really well, totally unintentionally, totally oblivious to it. So I thought that was pretty cool, and that
Did you sell or did
been
you hold?
working. I was always been a holder,
Okay. Oh, wow. Okay. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Um, but yeah, I thought that was pretty cool, and that it was appreciating much faster than all these value investing companies we were investing in, and I was making money a lot faster than all my side hustles of actually having to do real work just by riding in Bitcoin. And then of course I rode it all the way down from 212 bucks all the way down to like 30 bucks again. So it was short lived, but it was a taste of kind of the early volatility that was really exciting, and kind of just sucked me in even further to Bitcoin, to trying to understand why people were buying it and what people were using it for, and how big could this opportunity be. And we used to joke about maybe one day there'll be a bank that lets their clients buy Bitcoin. And of course, a decade later, we have BlackRock filing for this ETF, the biggest asset manager in the whole world, and we've got
Yeah.
every
Yeah.
single Wall Street bank facilitating trading of it for their high net worth clients and funds and stuff. So amazing how fast this industry has grown and exploded in kind of the cyclical leaps it takes every epoch in Bitcoin. So
Okay.
that was a quick introduction to it, and then by the time I was finishing my degree in 2014, we started asking, how could I basically work in Bitcoin that I was enjoying so much and learning so much about at the time, instead of getting a real job. And just so happened that David was kind of on the same wavelength, and was passionate about media and publishing. And so he said, let's launch a publication to tell people about Bitcoin. And so we did. It was a print publication that was called Why Bitcoin initially. And we created the whole thing. We've got guests from the industry to write all the content for it. We would just cold email people or ask people we met at conferences if they'd be willing to write a piece for it. We got some amazing people to contribute content, like Andreas Antonopoulos back in the day, and Eric Voorhees, and a ton of titans of industry who were just hanging out at the conferences back then. And then we sold some ads in it to some mining companies that no longer exist, some other companies, most of which are not really around today in the same form, but enough to pay for to print the magazine. And we printed it, and then we did it again, and we did it again, and really tried to just answer the questions for people that our same friends and family were asking us about. What is Bitcoin? Why does it have value? Is it secure? Where do I buy Bitcoin? What is mining? Kind of just cover the basics. And that was our goal initially, just tell people about Bitcoin, help distill and simplify what we were excited about, and hopefully get more people interested in Bitcoin. And that led into the start of really us going deep on the media side as we've grown from that one print magazine, which we're no longer printing today, buying Bitcoin magazine, launching podcasts, launching social media, video, research, emails, and then ultimately launching an event series.
No, thanks for sharing that. That's an amazing story. I mean, especially like in 2014. I remember, I'm a late bloomer for Bitcoin. I was a naysayer in 2014. Full disclosure, like, oh, that's a scam. My brother had bought in on it and he was trying to convince me. I'm like, no. So, but yeah, so I mean, in 2014, that's no easy task, but at the same time, it's also probably like a really awesome time because like the industry was so small. So maybe like you were saying, you can meet a lot of the key players, right? Or a lot of the OGs, because it's so compact. I mean, that's amazing. That's amazing. I mean, I think we should send your story to Charles Branson, right? The version founder, because I remember his story was in high school. He didn't pull it off, but his first gig, his first main hustle was he started like this high school magazine, I think, right?
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't realize that. Okay.
Yeah, he interviewed like, but it was like a counterculture thing. So he was interviewing like the people from the Beatles and stuff like that. They're able to get some big names, but in the end, they stopped doing that. They pivoted, right? But you guys made it work, and you guys stuck with it for shoot. This is like almost 10 years now, right? 2014 to now. It's like you guys will be celebrating your 10-year anniversary pretty soon.
Yeah, we will, and it's gone just like that. But yeah, I've been in Bitcoin 10 years now officially.
Wow. Oh man, I mean, for the Bitcoin Startup Lab, I also started in 2014. So we're coming
Okay.
up. It's like it's going into the 10th year right now. Yeah. Not
Wow.
the end yeah, it's going into the 10th year. Like in September it'll be, yeah, breaking the 10th year here.
I
So
didn't realize Startup Lab had been around that long.
yeah, I know it's
Amazing.
brand something else. It started as a consultancy to help people turn ideas into like one-on-one, right? But then evolved into a cohort model a couple of years into it. Yeah, so it's been around for a while. But no, I could see that. I mean, like if you do anything for like a decade, it means like you really care about it, right? And you guys like hit it like right on the money too. Like what I'm sure there's ups and downs though. Like what was there like I'm sure there's like strong headwind in the beginning. Like can you share with our aspiring entrepreneurs or aspiring founders, anyone who's listening here, to maybe some of those earlier challenges and how you got through them?
We've had plenty of challenges, so
Yeah.
yeah, it's a long list. But um, just with Bitcoin being so small and so volatile or early on, it's something that's still a challenge in our business today on the volatility side, but it's something that we've always just had to deal with, and that affects us as a media company particularly because when the price is going up and new users are coming into the space, every company wants to spend on marketing, on advertising, on sponsoring conferences, on growing at all costs. But when that tide starts receding, like it has been for the past almost 2 years now, marketing budgets are the first to get slashed as companies try to be more defensive and as they batten down the hatches to weather these cycles. So that really affects us where, we, are the marketing budgets of the industry, I would say as a whole, are just beta on top of Bitcoin when you really boil it all down. And that shows up in conference attendance numbers and the amount of sponsors we have at conferences. So that's something that is kind of unique to building Bitcoin businesses, and I really think even having lived through a number of these bull and bear market cycles, I've still got a lot to learn, and we don't play it perfectly. But as a new to Bitcoin, first time founder, it's these bear markets are just brutal, and so um,
So,
planning for that volatility, being defensive, and not just getting caught up in the like grow, invest when things are good, which is it's very easy to do. And thinking about the risk management of what happens if the market's going down every day instead of going up every day is all hard thing to do when things are going well. But it's in my experience, and in working with hundreds of other companies in the industry, it's the companies and the founders that can react the quickest, and that are in tune with the market and thoughtful and can react and reposition quickly when things start changing, that do the best. And it's the ones who are slow to move that take the brunt of the force from these bear markets. So that's
yeah,
my the only advice I really
be
can
nimble,
share on
nimble.
yeah, living with it, and be ready to pivot quickly in terms of your spending and your opex, and your hiring plans and stuff, because Bitcoin's unique in that so much of the whole industry is shaped by these cycles every 4 years, and so it's not like a typical tech startup where you can you have straight line or even hockey stick like compounding growth, like grow 20% a month, 20% a year, whatever your growth rate is. Just doesn't work like that in being in the Bitcoin industry. You're going to go grow faster than you ever imagined, despite all your mistakes when things are really good. And then when the market's bad, even if you're running the most lean, most efficient business, you're just going to have a really rough time growing revenue, growing customers when the whole foundation is shifting under you. And so you just got to be prepared for that, and be ready to react for that, and just keep charting your course, no matter which way the tides are dragging you.
Yeah, and obviously it's like, since you guys are about to celebrate your 10th year, you guys have done that very well, because in 10 years there's like, it's basically 2.5 Bitcoin cycles, right? So you guys have been around the gauntlet, around the block a few times. And I really like your analogy there with comparing this to the ocean, because I do see the market as the ocean. It's like a force that is not to be trifled with, right? And it's more about reading how the waves are moving. And then the successful sailors or fishermen are the ones who can navigate the waves, not go head on against them. Yeah, so that's great advice. I think that's definitely a hallmark of successful entrepreneurs that I've seen, is that mental flexibility. Some people might call it agility, or just be sensitive to market factors. I mean, the market is almost like a force of nature. I mean, in a sense, it is a force of nature, right? And so if we're like, I don't, it gets easier over time, right, to navigate, but the hardest is the first couple of years. So in 2014, like, refresh our memory, was that like during a bull, or was that like during a bear for the Bitcoin? Was it?
So 2013 was a good bull, and then I think 2014 was pretty good too. When we went to $1,000 a coin for the first time, if I'm remembering right. And then it's really been every 4 years since 2013. So 2017 was a great market. 2021 was a new all-time high market, and that
We're
gets me
coming up on
excited
next
for 2025. Yeah.
2025. Yeah, it's like, it's not too far away, Bitcoin halving, and then we're going to the moon. So all right, so you basically operated in 2014, which was a great year, as you said, like, broke 1,000, and then 2015 was when it started turning, like, going down, right? Until 2017 when it went back up. So that first, let's talk about that first one, when it's like basically, like, as a startup founder, like, doing great, and it's like your first major storm, right? First major storm, the winds have turned. What were you like you said, people stop spending on marketing, etc. Like, what was that first time like? How did you guys get through it?
Just with sheer grit is what I would say is how we got
It
through
is
it.
painful.
Uh, yeah, the entire industry was a lot different back then, and what I don't take for granted yet, but what I feel so confident about today is that you know Bitcoin's going to be here and Bitcoin's going to be fine, and TikTok next block, Bitcoin goes on no matter what else is happening around it. That wasn't necessarily the same during that first bull market, and I didn't have that confidence of living through the ups and downs to know that everything was gonna be all right. And there was real fears for a while that Bitcoin could break technically. Bitcoin could fork again. Bitcoin could be outlawed by the government, just like it was in China a few years later. and
Yeah.
and there's just so much more uncertainty about the political role of Bitcoin, the regulatory role, the technological foundation. There was just a lot of question marks, and I think that was reflected in the price at the time. And similarly, where so many, there's still plenty of uncertainty on ahead, but Bitcoin is light years ahead of where we were back then, just from an adoption, from an understanding, from a political and regulatory framework for how it's treated all around the world, from the technological stress testing and battle testing it's had through the block size wars and through SegWit and Taproot and stuff. And so I think today you can have even more conviction that the foundation you're building on in Bitcoin is here to stay, and that makes me thankful as a founder.
Yeah, no, it makes us all very thankful. Thanks for voicing that. Yeah, I mean it's interesting because in 2015, I'm sure a lot of people jumped ship, right? When when the going got tough, I'm sure a lot of people like me, like a lot of people had this maybe like the same fears you had, but like what made you stay the route, like stay the course, whereas other people may have just like what was the difference there? I mean, you did mention grit, but what was, I'm sure you have some friends who like exited space, right? What was the difference there? Why did you keep going? It's probably pretty dismal back then because like the markets, like you said, the adoption was like much smaller, right? So like whenever there's like when it went down, if people left, you probably feel it like it's a lot more pronounced because it's smaller, right?
Yeah, I would say that it's actually I haven't really thought about it for a while, but kind of reflecting on it a little bit here. What was different back then, though, like in that kind of 2015, 2016 market, which was brutal, but Bitcoin and the whole industry was really still so young that there wasn't a lot of money in it, and there wasn't a lot of people chasing that speculative money. And the people who were into Bitcoin real early are as a generalization, are a very kind of ideological driven bunch, where it's something philosophical, ideological, Austrian economics, libertarianism, Ron Paul, kind of those ideas that brought people to Bitcoin originally, not any factor of the price or
So
making money or building a business. And so if you came into that with that mindset, the price really didn't matter as much. And so even during that bear market, even though the price was way down, people were still very attached and kind of committed to the ideals of Bitcoin and the bigger vision. And I think you really saw that change in like 2017, and the 2018 bear market is when you really had a lot of money come into Bitcoin and crypto for the first time, and a lot of people leave the system who had only kind of been brought in by the opportunity and the gains and the short-term financial opportunity, and didn't have that kind of foundational understanding of the philosophical case for Bitcoin to latch onto when times got tough.
Okay, yeah, and okay. So it sounds like the early community is very resilient because they're more like ideologically driven. Well, that's good to know. It's very interesting. So let's talk about this. So you weathered the storm a few times, right? And then when did you guys become like the longest running and the largest media on Bitcoin? Like, how can you give me some highlights on that?
So we bought as a part of our journey, we bought Bitcoin Magazine from Vitalik Buterin and some of the early founders and team members there in 2015. Really, when Vitalik went to focus on Ethereum full time, and so
Well, okay, hold on.
Bitcoin
Let me
Magazine
unpack this for a second.
had predated us.
Yeah, so let me unpack this. So 2015 was when the market was what, going down, or it was still good. It was 2016 that went down, or 2015 was when it went down.
It was going down in 2015, if my memory serves me right.
All right. So, and this is about the same time Vitalik could say, "Hey, I want to do Ethereum now," right? Like, okay. So, wow. So when the market was going down, you guys had already done well enough to acquire Vitalik's Bitcoin Magazine. Is that what I'm hearing here?
We were able to snap it up, and it had predated BTC Inc. So I think that's really how we got that title of the longest operated, was building on the foundation that had already been started with Bitcoin Magazine, and getting to be, we view it almost as caretakers of that cool piece of history that has really chronicled the entire history of Bitcoin's life and all the technological progression, and is kind of the de facto historical archive of Bitcoin in a lot of ways, which is why it holds such a special place in our hearts.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, it looks like Vitalik, he's quite the genius for passing it on to you guys, because you guys have been carrying the torch all this way. So like that was like the perfect pass off. Excellent. Yeah. Okay. And then back then, what were the users numbers like? Because I can see that what you guys have over 3 million now on Twitter, right? Followers. I can only imagine that it's more if you count the other platforms. But what was the readership like back then?
It was small. Bitcoin Magazine was a print publication initially. It did have a website at that time, but it was small. I don't even know what
How many in circulation was it? Are we talking about 5 figures or 6 figures?
I think we were printing between 5 and 10,000 copies per issue.
Wow, so it's basically going to like the really hardcore early adopter Bitcoin. Wow, so it's 5,000 to 10,000. Wow, so that's massive.
So small, and I don't know if we even had a Twitter account back then. We had, it was probably tens of thousands of readers cumulatively for Bitcoin Magazine.
I'm just doing the math right now, right? Because 1 million is 100 times more than 10,000, and you guys are over 3 million now. So you guys like over 300 exit. But if it was 5,000 print, then you more than 600 exit since then. So I say that's pretty good growth. That's pretty good. That's not bad. Not bad.
We've had a decade to work on it. So that helps, and a lot of new people coming into Bitcoin. So.
Yeah, I bet you guys have seen it all. So okay, so all right, so you guys have this, and you guys also do conferences. Conferences are super fun as well. Right, last one was what, in Miami, was it? And then the next one is going to be in Nashville. Is that correct?
Yeah, we just wrapped up Miami this spring. Was a great event and turnout, and then we'll be bringing the Bitcoin conference to Nashville, where I live, next year for July of 2024. So I'm really pumped about that. Pumped to bring it to Nashville. Is something we've wanted to do for a while, and get to kind of show off Nashville to the Bitcoin industry. and it's going to be the biggest party in Bitcoin, like it is every year. So I can't wait.
Yeah, you guys know how to pick the cities. Like first is Miami and then Nashville. These are all like very sociable, very fun cities, right? These cities are alive. Yeah, great choices. And you guys have something going on in Amsterdam. Is that correct?
We do. We have our Bitcoin European edition coming up in Amsterdam in October. So that's only a couple months away. And you know, a lot of our vision and our ambition is to keep taking Bitcoin, the Bitcoin conference specifically, to more places around the world where we can engage the local community and build a meeting point for to attract people from local industry, from the Bitcoin industry, where we can spotlight Bitcoin all over the world. And so, Miami and Nashville, North America is great. We've been super pleased and encouraged with the progress of having a European event. And for next year and beyond, we want to do more conferences in more cities all around the world where we can really bring together in person the best pieces of the Bitcoin community. So that's something I'm passionate about. I'm excited to be hearing from our team about the new cities all over the world we're looking at, and we'd love to bring it to a city near everyone soon.
Yeah, no, that's a super valuable service, especially in the Web3 Bitcoin space where a lot of people are working remotely. I have so much fun when I go to these events because you get to see a lot of people in IRL for the first time, right? Or for a long time. And it's just it's such a valuable service what you guys are doing for the ecosystem and for the Bitcoin culture, right? It's just it's a great reason to get together, right? For just get to know each other or to learn about what's like the on the bleeding edge, right? And meeting important industry players. It's like really it supercharges things when people get to meet in person, right? And so that's a great thing you guys are doing. I mean, that's sort of the reason why we're doing the Bitcoin Olympics is to invite different ecosystem players, but in an online manner, and then reward people for innovating on Bitcoin, right? And yeah, so you guys are expanding the conferences, right? And then you guys also recently announced your 2040 Bitcoin ecosystem fund, right? Can you talk a little bit about that? I guess, I mean, it does make sense since you guys are like now the longest and largest running media on Bitcoin. So you guys must see a lot, right? So like, how does this fund fit into the equation here? And what are you guys looking at to invest in? Like, this is definitely a huge bonus, right, to the entire Bitcoin ecosystem that there's more capital being deployed.
We think there's an opportunity for a lot more capital, and really at BTC Inc, our mission is hyper Bitcoinization. So spreading Bitcoin around the globe until it's ubiquitously adopted and useful all over the world. And media, education, conferences, and bringing people together are a big part of that. But we see there being a big need for that in terms of funding more Bitcoin startups, which is something that we've done for a while at BTC Inc, just off of our corporate balance sheet as the business has grown over the years. And it's something that David and I have done some personally as angel investors. And so we have been lucky to meet so many amazing Bitcoin founders and startups through Bitcoin Magazine, through our conferences, through hosting some hackathons over the years, and invest in a couple that have come out of it. But we see the opportunity to go much bigger, and we see so many talented entrepreneurs and founders kind of coming and focusing on Bitcoin right now that we wanted to be able to capitalize and accelerate, boost, turbocharge that industry even more. And so that was the basis for us launching a dedicated fund to back pre-seed and seed stage Bitcoin startups. And
wow,
the name of the fund,
that's early.
yeah,
That's when you
it's
make the most
21.
impact, though. Yeah.
Yeah, the name 2140 is for the last year, the year the last Bitcoin will be mined, essentially on the emission schedule of Bitcoin. So our thesis is how can we achieve hyper Bitcoinization by the year 2140? And we think that funding more Bitcoin startups over that are going to build over that next 120 years and bring more and more people into the closed loop circular Bitcoin economy is a big piece and opportunity for that.
No, yeah, no, super. That's a great vision. Yeah, with the talking about 2140 being the last Bitcoin that can be mined. I mean, we're coming up on the Bitcoin halving, right? In 2024, in about 200 days. It's roughly like what, April? Beginning of Q2 next year is when people estimate the next Bitcoin halving is going to happen. And so miners are going to make half the amount from emissions, right? So it's really about how we can innovate more use cases to increase the transaction volume there to to make the ecosystem self-sustaining and healthy. And so this is really important what you're doing with the capital, right? I mean, I know like sometimes there's like there are different tribes in Bitcoin. Some of them are very against, like, say, capital, right? But I think it's it's a necessity if you want to do hyper Bitcoinization, right? And what are some of the categories that you think are well timed? Because you guys have seen, like, this is on your third cycle now, right? So you guys have sort of seen also how Ethereum grew and where Bitcoin may be lacking. Where do you think are the next opportunities? I mean, can you share some of those investment categories or some of the companies that you've invested in? And then maybe people listening in, if they fit those categories, maybe they could come and find you guys.
Definitely, and please do come find me. But in terms of kind of broad strokes, we see Bitcoin kind of entering this new era where it's been, a decade of a lot of hard work and a lot of startups focused on kind of mining infrastructure, exchanges, on ramps, like the key pieces of the Bitcoin industry that enabled 100 million people to get Bitcoin, to get online to the network, to self-custody it, to use wallets to be able to transact in Bitcoin. And that's the existing investment that we're able to take advantage of. But where we see Bitcoin going over the next decade and kind of where our investments themes are focused around, it's kind of like a new software layer for Bitcoin. And so we really think that the Taproot, the SegWit and the Taproot upgrades for Bitcoin unlocked an entirely new surface area of programmability and being able to build Bitcoin native applications in a way that we didn't have before, and where there's this culture of experimentation and innovation on Bitcoin that was really rich back in the old days with projects like Omni and Mastercoin and Colored Coins and a lot of even some of the early kind of DNS Namecoin, for example, that has been around since the earliest days of Bitcoin. But a culture of experimentation and building on Bitcoin to enable different types of financial applications, tokenization, real world assets, early DeFi use cases. And then we had a period of time where that innovation and the experimentation around those types of abilities was entirely moved to Ethereum, Solana, other L1s, where there was other places where the builders were focused that were evolving quicker. But we've seen now all the foundational pieces to be able to do a lot of those same use cases that have been validated or found product market fit on other chains within with Bitcoin as the base asset. And so our thesis is that Bitcoin is really entering its next growth cycle, looking ahead to that halving in April of 2024 already, and that we're about to see kind of a renewed growth cycle where we have spot Bitcoin ETF for the first time, and we have a bunch of new users come on the chain, and we also have an environment where, as the Bitcoin price appreciates, the value locked in the Bitcoin economy is only going to increase over the next few years. And so we see transaction fees on L1 increasing significantly. And we think that there's going to be a lot of people using L1 to do settlements of different types of assets, with like ordinals being the example that is getting the most traction today. We also see the need for Bitcoin to have multiple different L2s to be able to accommodate getting the next billion people on chain and using Bitcoin. And so we think there's the opportunity and the market need to have a variety of different layer twos that are optimized for different trust models, speed models, security models, smart contract functionality models, and that Bitcoin is going to evolve into really a whole ecosystem and a whole stack of different layers. And we want to be at the earliest stage funding the most exciting, promising, innovative teams that are building those pieces of the Bitcoin economy.
Well, that's a great overview. I mean, supervision, and if I understand you correctly, it's basically you guys are investing anything from like basically infrastructure, right? We started this conversation or this topic with SegWit and Taproot. You're talking about on L1 that opens up an entire like universe of possibilities, right? But then also like not everything can be built on L1. So what's the infrastructure that needs to take place as a layer 2, for example, right? Yeah, that's amazing. So is there all right, so these are like the broad stroke. Now, what about like specific categories, like by technology or by like category? Like maybe technology is like Lightning or Rootstock, and maybe by categories more like ordinals or DeFi, right? What are there any like these descriptive words that you could share with people? Like what's like on your radar screen right now? Or maybe what have you invested in? Like the fund is really new, so you guys have a lot of capital to deploy, but I'm sure you guys already deployed a little bit of it. Like what are some of those companies in different categories that you could share? If you can't share, it's cool. We could save it for another day, but if you could share, like please do.
Yeah, the fund is pretty new. We are investing capital actively here, but even of the deals we've done, I think only one or maybe two have come out and announced their fundraising round. So unfortunately, I can't share all the companies that I'm seeing and excited about. I'll mention the one that did recently announce the round that we're really excited to be backing is Xverse, the Bitcoin and ordinals wallet. And what we liked about Xverse, and they've got a super sharp team, but they have built the tools and the functionality to couple really like a best-in-class user experience with the functionality to do ordinals, inscriptions, Web3 type activity on top of Bitcoin, and they've been rewarded with I think over 300,000 downloads last time I checked, of people who are interested to try some of these different tokenization or digital artifacts on top of Bitcoin, and Xverse being kind of the best in class way to interact with that whole ecosystem that's being built on top of Bitcoin, with marketplaces and inscription services and peer-to-peer trustless auction technology, and people putting different code on chain, stored in as digital artifacts in Bitcoin's blockchain, and using Xverse to facilitate a lot of those use cases. So
Yeah, no,
we're
that's a great investment. I mean, I think they're the most widely used wallet now for ordinals, right? They
I do too, and I think they've got a exciting and ambitious roadmap of a lot more functionality that they're going to be adding to the wallet. Let people do new things with Bitcoin, and experiment and try new things. DLCs being one piece that we're excited about coming there too. That's a way to tap into Bitcoin's programmability and scripting language to build different types of settlement contracts using oracles, using options, using derivatives, using loans that are leveraging this DLC technology on top of Bitcoin to build truly trustless or trust minimized or transparent financial products on top of Bitcoin.
Yeah, no, the potential of a wallet to evolve into a financial portal is very large. Yeah, that's very exciting. And as you mentioned, the DLC technology is that's part of the Taproot upgrade, right? And it's going to open up a whole genre of innovation. Yes, and speaking of which, I'm not going to name any names, but I heard some of our, or at least one of our Bitcoin Startup Lab companies was invested by you guys. But we won't steal their thunder. We won't mention that. But and for the viewers, we're also proud to announce that yes, Bitcoin Ecosystem Fund is also a backer of the Bitcoin Startup Lab. So thank you for your support on that.
We're thrilled to be working with Albert and his team as they bring and educate and help grow hundreds of new founders and teams building in the Bitcoin ecosystem. So we're really excited about this partnership and excited to meet more of the projects coming out of the startup lab.
Yeah, no, this is going to be a really awesome partnership, like huge strategic value here for everyone. Demo Day is coming up, right? And about a month here. So I think you'll be pleased based on what your investment thesis was that you just shared. I think you might be interested to see a lot of these new startups coming up, a lot of disruptive things going on that sort
Amazing.
of hyper Bitcoinization thesis that we are all behind. Excellent. Super. Yeah. Okay. So how do people reach out to you? I mean, like by now, I'm sure a lot of people like listening to this will have wanted to, hey, how do I reach out to Tyler? Either for the media, right? Either to get your name out there, right? Through the Bitcoin BTC Inc., which, as I understand, is more like a holding company, and Bitcoin Magazine is just one product, right, of that line. And then you have the conference, and you have other things. So there's if you want to get marketing power, right, this is the biggest and baddest on Bitcoin. Or if you're an innovator, right, and you're bringing Bitcoin to the masses, right, you can also reach out to Tyler. What's the best way to get in touch with you, Tyler, or with your team?
You can hit me on Twitter. My DMs are open there. I'm in the Twitter spaces right now, or my handle is just TYLEV on Twitter or on Telegram. You can reach me any of those places or shoot me an email. I'm just Tyler at b.tc. And I happy to meet all of you and can hand you off to our Bitcoin Magazine team, depending if you've got news to share, you're looking to get involved in one of our conferences, you're fundraising for your startup, just let me know.
Yeah, super, man, super. And it's great to have you in the top 30 who's who this year for Bitcoin innovators and contributors. Thank you for everything you're doing. It looks like we're coming up on time here. So I don't know if anyone wants to ask maybe we have time for like one question before we check out here.
Cool.
Yeah, if no one asks a question, I'm gonna check out again. Again, guys, this is the who's who in Bitcoin innovation 2023. We've gone through great lengths to find 30 top contributors to Bitcoin to showcase their origin story in hopes to inspire more people to come build on Bitcoin. Because as Tyler is saying, hyper Bitcoinization is not going to happen just like by itself. We have to get together, and as the ecosystem, we're going to do this, right? If we want to future proof anything, we got to fight for it, right? So this is a call to action, invitation. There are people, brilliant people like Tyler in the ecosystem who are willing to help. Bitcoin Startup Lab is also here to help if you're doing something like, if you want to take your idea and turn it into investment worthy Bitcoin startup, we're best practice, so to speak, right now in the industry. So welcome to join us. If you're not ready to take the full plunge, join the hackathon, right? Meet like-minded people. There's over 10 different Bitcoin technologies that you could choose from. A lot of the technology providers have provided very, very attractive prizes. You know, some of them have gone up to $25,000 per tech stack. And we also have a tech agnostic prize pool that is sponsored by Sora Ventures, right? It's $50,000, so it's a catch-all. So if you don't see like a tech specific prize for it, well, if your innovation is truly innovative or original, right, and it is creating a valuable use case on Bitcoin, then come join. You can also participate in that $50,000. And I think right now this has made us the biggest prize pool in as a Bitcoin hackathon. So join one, join all. Let's build this Bitcoin economy together. So again, thanks so much, Tyler, for joining us. And we're gonna sign out now. Thank you, Tyler. Do you have any last words you want to share with inspiring words to share with the founders or innovators on Bitcoin coming into the space?
Well, thank you for having me, Albert. This has been a lot of fun chatting, and I look forward to catching the rest of the interviews in this series and hearing more about all the things people are building on Bitcoin. And that's what I'll leave you with. Is I'm just sitting on my seat where I get to talk to hundreds of entrepreneurs, hundreds of founders, hundreds of companies that are building in the Bitcoin space. I am more bullish than I've ever been in terms of the talent, the people, the vision, the opportunity we have in front of us right now. So I think these next couple of years are going to be a lot of fun. I can't wait to find more teams doing exceptional things that we can back and work with. Let's go hyper Bitcoinization.
Let's go hyper Bitcoinization. Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. And so we're signing off, and thank you, the audience, for listening in. By the way, we're going to share this in the Discord, and this is going to be publicly available to inspire more builders. Thank you again, Tyler, so much for sharing your origin story. I'm sure a lot of people resonated with some of the things you did. They might have not done exactly the same thing, but when people see like, wow, okay, maybe I sort of did that when I was in high school, right? And it inspires people to say, I could be an entrepreneur too. So thanks again. Thank you for sharing your story.
Thanks, Albert. Take care.